Alright guys, so I was once again today impressed by a very popular YouTuber. And if you watch me, you know that I don't really have high expectations of big mainstream YouTubers. Generally speaking, at least when it comes to politics. Obviously, you know, I'm not like trying to put them down. But when it comes to politics, I typically don't have the highest expectations because even among pretty smart and well-reasoned mainstream creators, they tend to try to avoid getting involved with politics as much as they possibly can in order to avoid possibly pushing away more moderate or right-leaning or left-leaning fans wherever they lean. And so recently I found myself continuously, whenever I decided to watch one of his videos, continuously impressed by Philip DeFranco. He is one of the most prominent, if not the most prominent, independent news guy on YouTube. He has filled the niche that Keemstar once shamelessly filled. And he did a segment in his newest video
this month
that was like really good, dude. It was really fucking good. It was about how multiple outlets are calling out the podcast world online for essentially fueling Trump's rise and his ability to push Americans towards believing the results of the 2020 election and the coming election's results, if he doesn't win, will not be valid. I don't know if you guys know this, but I like podcasts. I love podcasts. I'm the type of person who likes to sit down, put something on, relax and play video games for a few hours and just listen to something, you know? And podcasts are great for that. One of my favorite podcasts is Creepcast, a horror-oriented creepypasta reading podcast. Another one of my favorite podcasts is PKA, Painkiller Already, one of the first podcasts on the internet. And I hate to say, they've gone from being like funny middle-aged white dude bros who make edgy jokes to full-on like pro-Trump and Russia propaganda mills at this point. At least their clip channels have become that. And man, I can't even watch them anymore. It's so depressing to watch creators that I like fall down the pipeline of grifting for the right wing. But it happened nonetheless. The podcast scene is in large part heavily right-leaning, with the biggest podcast that dominates the entire landscape being none other than the Joe Rogan Experience, which Donald Trump just appeared on as a guest recently. And apparently Kamala Harris, despite trying to go on the Joe Rogan Experience, has not been brought on or invited on. So I find it interesting that Joe Rogan, who had the biggest platform and podcast in the world, has only brought on Donald Trump and platformed him, and has not brought on the other candidate who wants to go on the podcast as well. I think that's interesting. I think that's a worthwhile thing to consider about Joe Rogan. But regardless, there's a big discussion happening right now about how the podcast sphere could be what either gets Donald Trump elected or what helps to stoke Trump supporters into violence again if he loses this election. And I gotta say, Philip DeFranco cooked here with his coverage of the situation. I am so happy to see that mainstream creators are not just sitting by this election and letting our country fall into fascism. There are many that are, to be fair, that do not want anything to do with politics, but Philip DeFranco isn't one of them, and I'm very, very proud of him. He probably wouldn't care that I'm proud of him, but I am. Let's check out this segment. He does a really good job of talking about this as well, so you guys will be learning something. I already saw it. Full disclosure, I saw this segment already.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, your daily dive into the news. It is Thursday. It is Halloween. We are just 5 days away from the election, which, on that note, if you can early vote, knock it out. Get it out of the way. If you can't, come up with an election day plan. Push your friends and family to do the same. Because, you know, it's just you and everyone you know is future up for grabs. Slightly, sort of, kind of worth all of our attention. And
Dude, he gets the fucking assignment, bro. He gets what's up. He understands what is going on. He's not playing that, like, fence sitter. He, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, not even 4 years ago, I think he took the election pretty seriously in 2020, I think. I would say, like, 5 to 6 years ago and before, he was a fence sitter, bro. This is a stark difference now where he fully recognized. You know what? You know what it might be? he has a kid, maybe multiple kids. I think when you're a dad or a mom, if you're already inclined towards progressive beliefs, when you've got a kid you're bringing into the world and raising into like life as an adult in the future, you become even more incentivized to try to use your voice and whatever means you have to improve that world for them, because that's like one of the most fundamental parental instincts that you can have. It might be that. I think a lot of like classic like mainstream YouTubers becoming dads or moms might be something that motivates them to get more involved in politics. It's hard not to care if you have children you're bringing into the world. Wish it worked on my dad. Once again, conservative parents don't love their kids, so they're actually immune to this effect. Sorry, we're a penguin, but hopefully he can be saved.
Some of our stories today will be about the election because, of course, we're so close. We have so much we got to talk about today. I mean, the Medicaid purge for one, the set of crazy bank heists, new big Diddy updates, or the New York Times and Washington Post.
This is why I love mainstream news content. Back-to-back, like, important political stuff. Then we got more updates on Diddy.
Just took aim.
This is
at
what
Joe
Gen Z
Rogan,
cares
Ben
about.
Shapiro and so many others. Hey, you just hit that like button and let's jump into it.
This is a news show.
Monkey.
So first up today, in one of the most requested stories of the day over on the text line, let's talk about how the Washington Post and the New York Times just dropped two massive pieces saying that some of the most popular podcasts and YouTube channels in America, they are casting doubt about the integrity of the 2024 election, with experts saying what was described as a free flow of misinformation could prime listeners not to accept the election and even boost support for Trump and others who would want to challenge the outcome if he loses. Right, and with
The podcast world is so brain rotted. As someone who watched, as a podcast that I enjoyed, fell into becoming a right-wing misinformation peddling sphere. For one, a right-wing audience is the most dedicated and supportive audience that you will ever get. What I've noticed is that PKA, for example, has never had a more active subreddit, Discord, comment section, or anything else since they started doing right-wing content, since they started just nonstop parroting right-wing talking points on their show. It makes for extremely profitable clips. The audiences are highly engaged and highly likely to click and view anything that backs up their beliefs. And it's just some dudes talking about stuff they already agree with. So the podcast scene for conservatives is unbelievably strong. The right owns the podcast scene right now. Like, owns it. And you can watch his podcasts go from making fractions of what they did before to making millions after a simple but slow switch into just nonstop talking about whatever given list of conservative culture war topics there are to talk about. It's how Joe Rogan has gotten to where he is. It's how PKA has blown up recently. A lot of these like podcasts got big off of shilling to the extremely dedicated right-wing audiences. I've noticed online, right-wing guys are always more active in circles everywhere online, and that activity trains algorithms to promote the content they engage in. The fact that they comment so much on everything, they're just repeating the same point as the video or whatever, it boosts that content, makes it inescapable, and normies get sucked in. That's the situation.
Their scope wasn't small, right? They weren't talking about a couple of podcasts. For example, the Washington Post saying that according to a new analysis, these doubts about the 2024 election have been aired by more than 24 popular podcasts, with some of the most prominent of those 26 programs they talked about, including the Joe Rogan Experience, which of course is the single most popular podcast in America. They also mentioned some other big names like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. The New York Times also prominently displaying several, including Tim Pool and Tucker Carlson.
This is election interference by Joe Biden.
They're cheating already and
Weren't they both part of company? Tim Pool was, but wasn't Tucker also getting paid by Russia? I think he was.
Michigan.
Your party rigged many of the voting rules in advance of the election.
All the sadness we've seen after the clearly stolen election.
Which makes it clear that the election was stolen.
With the Washington Post saying that all 26 shows it analyzed, quote, have amplified unfounded assertions, including that the election will be rigged or stolen. Right? And with all this, you have people arguing that
You know what's so scummy about this? Ben Shapiro, the day after J6th, condemned it, called it an insurrection, said everything the left says about it now, argued with people who were mad at him about it, and then nowadays has completely turned heel on it in order to toe the line. Ben Shapiro accidentally, before realizing what the immediate right-wing response would be defending the actions, went to damage control by denouncing and calling out the J6ers, and now he defends them and defends J6. But there is a video of him completely calling it exactly what it was. Let me see if I can find it. Ben Shapiro calls J6 an insurrection. This was like the day after this was Jan 7th. Oh, Destiny's subreddit comes in clutch here, it seems. The worst day in modern American history. Wow, I'm surprised this is still up.
Stormed the Capitol building to try to stop the Electoral College vote count for Joe Biden. The left blames all Republicans for the insurrection, and Twitter suspends Trump. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show.
So the narrative at the time was the left is blaming all conservatives for the insurrection. Now the narrative is it was never an insurrection. Ben Shapiro hadn't figured out that the agreed upon line to toe was not to say, oh, we had no association with that. It was to outright defend it. He didn't know he was supposed to defend this. He hadn't gotten the memo
yet. The Ben
yet.
Shapiro Show is sponsored by ExpressVPN. You have a right to privacy protected at expressvpn.com.
Oh, right into an ad. Damn, come on. Get to it, buddy. Come on. Come on. You know, I think, man, am I too shameless when I ask people to, like, comment their whatever at the start of a video to increase engagement? And then I see in the first minute of a Ben Shapiro video, it's a minute of an ad. So, no, I don't think I am too shameless.
No, bar none. Not one of them. The most horrifying thing that I have seen in American politics in my lifetime. It was absolutely horrific on every possible level. And we're going to go through today the entire string of events. We're going to go through the reaction to the events, which also has been quite terrible. So I guess the synopsis of today's show is that everything is terrible. That's the synopsis. But what we saw yesterday is inexcusable, unjustifiable, awful on every level, disgusting on every level. Just terrible. Terrible. When you have rioters taking over the U.S. Capitol building, the seat of American democracy, and when you have those rioters saying that they are doing so in the name of the President of the United States, and when you have them doing that to the legislative branch of the government, when you have those people, they are rioters, they are not protesters, okay? As soon as you commit an act of vandalism or violence, you are no longer in the category of protester, you are now a rioter. And unlike some folks who have justified riots based on the perspective of the rioters, if you're a criminal, you're a criminal, and you should go to jail. You should go to jail. And this was an attempted act of insurrection. I mean,
he got a lot of shit for this, walked it back, and now toes the line that it was not an insurrection, and the J6ers should be pardoned by Trump when he gets elected. And he also touts that Trump won the election in 2020 now.
This is incredibly significant, not just because it's happening, but because specifically podcasts in this election cycle have played a huge role. Right now,
that's why I call these people grifters. Not only are they always clearly following the money, but they're clearly not coincidentally politically aligned with what makes them the most money, when you can see that they change up their opinions at the turn of a dime when they realize they accidentally didn't toe the right line. They don't believe in any of it. They're just waiting and hoping that they say the right thing to make their paying audience happy.
Way we've never seen before with the Washington Post writing. Both Trump and Harris have embraced a medium that nearly 100 million Americans listen to weekly. And this is some of those podcasts that have even provided a platform for Trump to come on himself and make those lies direct to consumer. With probably the most notable recently being Trump's appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. Right? I mean, just on YouTube, that thing racked up 40 million views. And while there,
Jesus.
Trump lied about a number of things, but he also repeatedly made...
Mind you, lefty channels can't respond to this because, if at least as far as I'm aware, every time I've covered the Joe Rogan Experience, my video gets, like, copyright claimed by Joe Rogan, no matter how transformative it is. Like, Joe Rogan's got bots that auto-claim anything that covers his stuff. So besides clips, very short clips, if it's an extended bit of Joe Rogan material, I lose monetization on the whole video. So it's realistically not viable to cover Joe Rogan's stuff because he claims you, and it deprioritizes the videos. So Joe Rogan got to platform Donald Trump with effectively zero pushback.
False claims about the election. You know, with him going through many of his greatest hits with little pushback from Rogan. And at one point, Rogan even tried to downplay Trump's election denialism by claiming that a lot of Democrats have also denied elections in the past.
One of the things that was fascinating also was the denial of the election results is a pretty common thing. Hillary Clinton famously denied that, and she called you an illegitimate president, and she said,
no, she conceded the election and said with her freedom of speech that Russia tried to affect our election results in favor of Trump, which they did. And Trump's cronies are in federal prison right now because they were found guilty of doing that as part of his campaign in 2016. That is not the same as Trump inciting an insurrection on the Capitol, as not Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro himself, right when J6 happened, was brave enough to actually say.
Said that Russia put you in place.
Even though she conceded.
Yes.
You know, she conceded the night of the election because she was beaten.
Yes, and it was a thing that was pretty...
I love how Trump says that, like, she conceded the night of the election. She was beaten. And he says it like he got more votes than her. He got more electoral votes than her, but those are the electors. He did not get anywhere near as many actual ballots cast for him as Hillary did. Like, you can call it being a sore loser all you like, but you cannot change the fact that the majority of Americans did not vote for Donald Trump in the election he was actually able to win. So, he is not a man of the majority.
Common for people, especially Democrats, to deny the elections. There's been many of them. The Bush administration, the dangling Chads, all that stuff. My point is this.
None of them encouraged their followers, which then did it, to go to the certification of the election results and actually stop it. They delayed. They succeeded in stopping the certification of the election for several hours. They were there to stop it, and they succeeded in stopping it, and they were told by Trump to go there and march and show their patriotism and give them hell. It is that simple. Not comparable to anything any other administration has done in the past. Not even on the right. Not even Republicans.
Idea of election fraud is a forbidden topic, and you get labeled an election denier.
Right. One, even Donald Trump in that interview noted that Hillary Clinton conceded. And two, that is a false equivalency to say that she contested the election results.
DeFranco's
what she really
cooking
did
here.
was simply point out, and it is a well-documented fact, that Russia tried to interfere in our election by fucking with stuff on Facebook and other places. Also, at another point in the Rogan interview, it appeared that he tried to lead Trump with a question about election.
And it's not even just that. She didn't make an accusation. Trump's top campaign people are in federal prison after being found guilty of colluding with Russia to try and get Trump elected. They just couldn't find a direct connection between Russia and Trump himself. That is the only thing that is yet to be 100% confirmed by the courts.
Vulnerabilities and fraud, but then failed to push back on anything he said.
Let's talk about the potential vulnerabilities for elections and election fraud. One of them is mail-in ballots. The other one is if someone can break into voting machines. If someone can hack
both
voting
are big
machines. Those are two huge ones.
So
and
Elon
can be
Musk,
done?
Elon Musk, I think he said it publicly. I hope he did because I wouldn't want to be the one. But he's a really smart guy. And he's a very good guy with computers, right? He said to me
smart guy.
that unless you have paper ballots, it can never be an honest election. That's a big statement.
It's a big statement.
We should go to paper ballots. Now we have these sophisticated...
You know, one of the first debates I ever did on my channel was as I was like transitioning from like gaming to politics, and I was debating a random like 14-year-old off of Fortnite on why he supported Trump. And he said because Elon Musk supports Trump, and Elon Musk is a genius. And I've continued to see that 14-year-old's logic repeated by full-grown adults, including the potential president of the United States, ever since that day. And I can never not think of the fact that the first time I heard Elon supports him, and he's a genius, so I support him too, came from a 14-year-old idiot I met on Fortnite. I can never not think of that like parallel, you know? Yeah, Elon Musk is the idiot's genius.
Machine, it goes up to heaven, it goes all over the place and down and around. And they say, we'll need 2 weeks to figure out who the hell won the election.
Do you think that's by design?
Yeah, I do. I think it's very crooked. That's my opinion.
Now, notably here, I will say Rogan did ask Trump a few times if he had evidence for his election fraud claims. But when Trump finally answered, he kind of just accepted his response, which was, I mean, I'll just let you see it for yourself.
The
Which is a bad
2020
combination.
elections, you say you have all this evidence that it was rigged. Why haven't you put this evidence in a consumable form? In what?
Oh, I did. I have books on it. And by the way, books have been written on it. We have an author named Hemingway who is a great writer. She wrote a book on it, but
Not Ernst
many
Hemingway.
books have been written on it.
Now, with all that, I do think that it is notable that Rogan did at least try to press Trump on certain issues. Right? I criticized Rogan about this and other things in the past. He may have blind spots like we all do, but he
I like how to refer to any evidence he has that an election was stolen, he has to refer to books that you have to buy from his campaign. That's real strong evidence, Trump. And unfortunately, Joe Rogan's audience will eat it up.
does seem to be attempting to get some answers on some of these topics. And that's more than can be said about a number of other people out there. But of course, with this, Rogan's just kind of one of the latest podcasters who have platformed false election claims. With, for example, the Washington Post saying on 14 of the shows that they analyzed, either the host or a guest repeated the Trumpism that his supporters need.
Podcasts allow you to build a special parasocial relationship with the creators by feeling like you're that third person in the room, that fly on the wall of like the buddy hangout. And it's hard not to start assimilating the beliefs of like your friend group when you feel like you're part of like a non-existent friend group parasocially. And so what better way to enforce an alternate reality than the one that we actually live in than for all of the biggest podcasters to be highly parasocially attached to their audience and to use their platform to push the idea that they're cringe or insane. If they, something I've noticed is when you watch like podcast clips, it's not persuasive rhetoric. It's, God, let me see if I can like reenact an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about. It'll be like, the polling shows, like one person, like a guest in the podcast says, the polling shows that Kamala Harris has a good chance of winning this election. And they'll say, yeah, I'm sure she does. Yeah, totally. Look at this, see this gambling website? The odds are several times in favor of Trump, okay? Like this, when people are gambling and betting their money, that's when you know they're right. That, like, people are not just betting their money on a whim here. Trump clearly has the bigger chance of winning. I've heard this argument. I'm referencing a real one. And people eat it up because it sounds right to them. Like, yeah, you know what? A gambling site would be more accurate because people aren't just going to cast their bets on something they're not as sure about. This must be the most... this must be the most reliable source of election prediction out there. And I've seen this. Tons of conservatives love to reference that one gambling site as the best show of whether or not Trump or Kamala Harris are going to win, when it's literally weighed by who is betting on who on the site. So a bunch of Trump supporters are obviously going to go try and gamble on Trump winning, and that's going to like increase the odds in favor of him. So, yeah. Gamba-brained, indeed. Gamblers have truly broken everyone's minds. Nah, in all seriousness, though, the podcast scene, there's no accountability, no expectation to defend or debate your beliefs, and yet you are still very influential in spreading what you believe. And so no one expects you to debate to defend what you said on a podcast because, you're just saying it. You have a very strong attachment to viewers, and the viewers feel like they need to fit in by assimilating your views. And so, yeah, this is a real fucking threat, dude. Like, the podcast world being so disconnected from reality is scary.
To overcome an inevitable attempt to steal the election by ensuring their turnout's too big to rig. Also, they said they found 19 podcasts had promoted the baseless claims that Democrats are trying to sway the election in their favor by registering non-citizens to vote. Additionally, some of the shows have been echoing some of the false claims Trump's used to try and undermine the election, with that reportedly including an episode of the Charlie Kirk Show just this month, with Kirk asking his guest, Tom Fitton, head of the conservative group Judicial Watch, if he thought the election was fixed. And Fitton responds by just lying and saying it's illegal for votes to be counted after Election Day, even though literally some states mandate that practice. And
this has been a really common talking point from Trump to a lot of his supporters, the claim that it's illegal to continue counting votes after Election Day. It's just a complete lie. Like, there's nothing I can show you that, like, debunks this. They just made it up.
Then claiming that the processes in Arizona and Pennsylvania are structured, quote, to steal the election if need be. Now, with all this, I will say that the two pieces seem to kind of go in slightly different directions. The New York Times piece seems more about money and also in particular YouTube, referencing the Tenet media scandal that we covered earlier this month, writing RT.
Yeah, there's been a lot of media outlets that have been calling out that YouTube in particular has been enabling far-right misinfo more than ever lately, which is why it seems like so many left-wing channels getting fucked lately, me, Surus, handful of others, it seems like it's YouTube making a decision. We're backing right-wing content. This is what makes us money. You lefties only make trouble. You only stir the pot. You're gone. I get that vibe. And Google would absolutely do that, especially with its current right-wing pro-Trump CEO.
He allegedly funneled the money through Tenet Media, which operated a YouTube channel with more than 16 million views. And then adding, Tenet then paid popular pundits to create content, including Benny Johnson and Tim Pool, with them also specifically giving a lot of attention to YouTube ads on this content, reporting that the 30 conservative channels they analyzed had posted 286 videos containing election misinformation, and in total, those videos garnered more than 47 million views, and YouTube generated revenue from ads on more than a third of them. The researchers also said that they found some of the channels made money from their videos and monetization features available to members of the YouTube Partner Program. But with all that, very notably here, a YouTube
That's why YouTube loves them. As long as they're making money, YouTube's making money.
spokesperson said none of the 286
More money
videos
than
violated
them, in
its
fact.
community guidelines, saying in a statement, the ability to openly debate political ideas, even those that are controversial, is an important value, especially in the midst of election season. And specifically around money, saying most of the 30 track channels are ineligible for advertising and some had previously violated the company's content policies. And saying this report demonstrates our consistent approach to enforcing our policies. Right, and all of that is the Washington Post piece kind of focused more on the mediums themselves and the tools that they have. With the Post reporting that because podcasts operate largely outside the view of the tech industry monitors, that they're more vulnerable to disinformation than many other sources. But with all that said, of course, that is just one part of this story. Because once these stories dropped, we ended up seeing the subjects of the pieces as well as their supporters and fans reacting. Right, Ben Shapiro saying the Washington Post and New York Times just simultaneously dropped pieces calling for the destruction of conservative media and saying these are supposed guardians of the free press and free speech. What unbelievable liars. Elon Musk saying the New York Times is pure propaganda. And actually all of this is we knew that these pieces were going to come out thanks to the subjects of them. With several of the creators tweeting out questions they were getting about these pieces from the people writing it. With Tucker Carlson, for example, sharing this text message that includes a number of questions. You can pause here to read that yourself. With Tucker then responding, so the New York Times is working with a left-wing hate group to silence critics of the Democratic.
A left-wing hate group. Oh. Tucker. Can you just not be a snide little shit for 5 minutes? Please, Tucker Carlson. Can you stop? Like, Tucker Carlson is the type of snide, smug asshole who, like, punches you in class and then immediately shoots their hand up and screams for the teacher, accusing you of doing it. Like, that is literally what Tucker Carlson does when he accuses a left-wing group of being a hate group that wants to silence critics. God, these fucking people. And they know that we all know what they're doing, and that's what fills them with so much glee. That we know what they're doing, that the normies don't recognize it and are falling for their bullshit, and that we recognize that fact too, and it upsets us. That's what makes them so giddy. It's why they do that DreamWorks grin all the time. It's because they know what you're thinking, and it's that, why can't people see what he's doing? And he's just laughing, thinking, how can they not see what I'm doing?
Party, please ask yourself why you're participating in it. This is why you got into journalism? It's shameful. I hope you're filled with guilt and self-loathing for sending me a text like this. Please quote me. And then to the response in question, would you like to address any of the points or questions above? He said, would I like to participate in your attempt to censor me? No thanks. But I do hope you'll quote what I wrote above.
Me. Mind you, completely acceptable for them to say all the shit they said, but if anyone calls out what they said, you're not allowed. Like, it's all of a sudden it's silencing, it's censoring. Tim Pool always allows laptops in his show. I never said he didn't allow you to bring your laptop on the show. I said that he doesn't allow you to do a call where you can be at your computer. So if you don't have a laptop or a tablet or something to bring with you, when you, like, fly out and then Uber for, like, 40 minutes out to his secluded little compound, unless you've got a laptop or something, you're not going to have anything to fact check his lying.
And also note that I told you to fuck off, which I am now doing. Thanks. But again, all of this is developing in real time. We'll have to see if anything actually comes from this, any sort of fallout. In the meantime, I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And really, it can be about any and all aspects of what we talked about. Because obviously,
that's the end of the section. And obviously, Philip DeFranco does great content, and he did fantastically here, which of course I did want to showcase with this segment. But also, I wanted to go over the fact that, there is such a massive problem right now with the podcast scene pushing for right-wingers and right-wing politics that not only are mainstream outlets calling it out, but so is Philip DeFranco. It's pretty wild. This election has all of the wealthy, powerful, clouded up people on the internet, from the Paul brothers to Elon Musk, pushing for right-wing politics, pushing for Trump to win. They're dumping all their money into it, astroturfing as hard as they can. You've got YouTube, everything from Twitter to YouTube to Rumble to Facebook, now demoting and shadow banning left-wing content and promoting far-right misinfo content. I don't know what's going to happen, bros. I don't know what's going to happen. The channel's been hit pretty hard as of late by the YouTube changes in favor of the right. There are some other left-wing figures like Suris who are taking a step back from YouTube because it's gotten to be so bad with YouTube just hurting left-wing channels left and right, demoting content and shadow banning. So if you guys want to support the channel, it's more valuable than ever right now. Consider dropping a like. Every thumbs up goes a long way to support the channel and the algorithm, which I really do appreciate, as do comments, which boost the effect of likes. Make sure if you're watching live, you don't forget to like as well. It really does help a ton and means a lot. If you haven't already, then what are you doing? What are you lazy? What are you doing? Anyway, if you haven't already, then make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload a new video, because trust me, if you don't, they won't. And of course, if you want to see more stuff from me on other platforms, consider following my social medias, linked down below in the description, including my fan Discord, my YouTube, or my Twitter, my everything. Make sure you join my fan Discord, okay? That is the main hub of my community. It's where everyone hangs out. It's totally free to join. And on top of that, I announce all my new uploads and streams there, and at least once a week, I host a game event, watch party, or a call-in stream there. Finally, if you want to support me directly, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, gifting a sub, or perhaps even supporting me through my website, or through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch, the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless of how you support me, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.